Hey, what's up, everybody? We're here in New York's East Village, where I'm about to talk to one of my favorite musicians in the world, one of the great singer-songwriters of his generation, Bright Eyes Conor Oberst. Now, earlier this year, Conor, along with a group of friends, including his longtime cohort, Andy LeMaster, holed away in a little studio in Mexico that they called Valle Mystico. Compiled a band called the Mystic Valley Band, and they worked on what is technically Conor's first solo record in many, many years. Now, I know what you're thinking. A lot of you probably consider Bright Eyes to be effectively, creatively, a solo project. So what is the difference between a Conor Oberst solo record and a Bright Eyes record? Well, we're about to find out. Here inside, I know it's something of an obvious choice, but a Mexican restaurant here in the village called La Palapa.
The wilderness, some drink cosmopolitan.
How did you end up sort of gravitating to Mexico for this record?
Well, the one thing I knew for sure was I didn't want to do it in a studio. I wanted it to be in a house or somewhere more casual, and was looking at places in the States and just everywhere. And some friends that live in Cuernavaca, which is near to the town that we were in, found this. Basically, it was a hotel with like 4 little houses, kind of villa set up, and we were able to rent the whole place and talk to the owner, and he was okay with us playing music, which was, you know, the main concern, obviously. And it just worked out perfectly. Like, the more I learned about the place, you know, the more excited I was to go there. I've been to Mexico, and we'd made, you know, Bright Eyes had played there. We'd made friends with some people down there, so just kind of stars aligned. And it was
So when you went
great.
there, did you know it was going to be for the duration, you know, of making the record?
Yeah, I mean, that was my hope. We set aside, I guess it was 5 weeks, and flew all the equipment from our various places up here. I have a studio, me and Mike in Omaha, and then Andy LeMaster, who engineered it, has a studio in Athens, Georgia. And so we kind of piecemealed some equipment together and shipped it down and set it up.
And so I guess you guys kind of took over this hotel space, or?
Yeah, there's, like I said, there's 4 little houses, and we turned one into the studio, and then lived in the others.
So where did this name Valle Mystico or Mystic Valley come from?
That's the name of the place,
Okay.
that we rented. So it's sort of the logical choice.
Is there a reason for that name? Is there some mystic quality to the area? Or?
Yeah, the town's sort of renowned for, I guess, UFO sightings is what most people bring up when you, like when we would tell people in Mexico City that we were recording there. That's what first thing everyone wanted to talk about. Like, have you seen any omnis? Is what they call the aliens down there. So, which I unfortunately didn't.
No such
So I was looking every night, but. And there's also a pyramid there, so that's kind of, it's always a little bit of, I think, energy centers when you see those, the pyramids, I think.
You mentioned Andy, who obviously you've known for a long time, worked with off and on. And I met for the first time last year on the Bright Eyes tour when you guys were through here. But it seems like his role has been sort of stepped up in this, on this record, right?
Yeah, he's helped on various Bright Eyes records, and you know, we've been friends since we were teenagers, like playing in bands together. And but yeah, this is the first, you know, the main difference between this and, I guess the reason it's not called Bright Eyes is because Mike Mogus he didn't play on the record, and I, you know, I didn't feel right calling it that without him playing on it. So yeah, Andy kind of handled all the logistics and
the band that you put together, I mean, was it local musicians or people?
No, it was just friends of mine that I asked specifically to come down there and play on the record. And
people we would know, or?
Jason, Bozell, who's in Riley Kiley, the drummer. There's this guy named Nick Freitas, who's a really great songwriter, guitarist from California. Played on it. A couple guys from Birmingham, Alabama. This guy Macy Taylor played bass, and Taylor Hollingsworth, guitar player, and Nate Walcott, who's in Bright Eyes, played on some of the songs.
So I guess the fundamental question when people heard that this was a Conor Oberst record is, what, how in your mind, what is the difference, between the two? Because I think to the outsider, creatively, for all intents and purposes, Bright Eyes has been a solo project.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the reason is Mike and Nate. I consider it our band, and that evolved over the years. I mean, the idea of it being a solo project, I think, comes from, a bio that was written after like the first record in '98 that because of laziness we never corrected or cared to really address. Yeah. But I mean, in reality, probably since
you played live in different configurations.
Yeah, that's true. But pretty much since I would say like Lifted Time, which was like 2002. It's more or less been the three of us on virtually every tour and definitely every recording. So that's, in my mind, it turned into a band somewhere along the way. And
I remember the release for Casadega sort of reinforcing that point, that this is effectively a trio.
Yeah. I just wanted, I guess them to get the credit they deserve because they're a big part of what those records sound like. So.
Right. And maybe as much of a surprise to some people is to see you releasing a record on something other than Saddle Creek. How did this merge thing come about?
I guess it's really just born out of curiosity of, hey, I've done so many records with Saddle Creek, and obviously they're my great friends, and there was no falling out or anything like that, but the idea of stirring the pot, trying something new, just having like a fresh take on, the people that are working the record seemed exciting to me. And I mean, I'm fortunate to be in a position where I'm not under contract with anyone, so I can do a record here or there, and it's I guess kind of exercising the freedom to try new things. So
over the last 15 years, you do sort of things on your own terms. You make records when you want. You toured pretty regularly, but not in support of the record necessarily in that sense. Videos is you're fairly late to doing that, But has this like rapidly changing, fundamentally changing, environment affected the way you go about approaching recording or getting your music out there?
I guess not, and maybe that's not a good thing that we haven't adapted to the times, but to me it's still about the kind of, the music you actually make and the quality of it, and, you can knock yourself out trying to figure out new ways to promote it or, all that, but at the end of the day I just think it's, all about the way your records sound and what kind of show you put on when people come to see you, and the rest is sort of frills.
Hair blowing in the hot wind, time hanging from a clothespin. There's no sorrow that the sun's not gonna help.